Hello Galactic family, greetings, dear ones, I am Krian of Magnetic Service. The entourage is still here and the listeners of the future are here. Dear listener of the future, isn't it interesting that right now for some is really the past? But somehow, we are all together, in the now. The teaching of the day is that, by design, the human being is becoming a bit more multidimensional each year. The processes of your reality and your life can shift this way because the new tools are becoming part of your regular, conscious life. Human nature will begin to change, and a shift in your awareness is at hand. All this will help you practice getting around the old habits and the old ways of life, if you wish. Change is tough. Change is tough because it creates other things that are also tough. You change one thing and other things around you change. You intuitively know this and there's a resistance to it. This resistance is totally normal and common, and eventually you will get through the discomfort. The interesting thing that we wish to tell you about, and perhaps even convince you of, is this: the changes you make today are not only going to create more changes, but also more benevolence. God is in love with you so much that this God, this creative source, sees what you do and matches the benevolence of it with synchronicity. This whole concept defies your reality and your physics. Trusting in the unseen is tough. However, Spirit has multidimensionality and you don't. Spirit loves you so much that the reward for your trust will be that everything you do will have a benevolent shine upon it. You're going to feel better about what you're doing than ever before, and you're going to enjoy it. Imagine stepping into the unknown and being giddy about it instead of afraid. Imagine racing towards that unknown bridge that we talked about so many years ago and accelerating towards the unknown instead of putting your foot on the brake. This is the attitude of faith that Spirit sees, and it tells a lot about who you are. The DNA that you have, which is also tuned to the consciousness that you enjoy, also sees this. So does your heart, your pineal and your logical brain. They all see this, too. This is the power of what we have described in the past as pure intent or compassionate action. All this works together to make it comfortable for you. This is new. In the past, when you stepped out to live your faith, there wasn't a support team like there is now. In an older energy, it wasn't there like it is today. You hadn't created it yet, but now you have. And again, we say these things are not always as they seem, and what you try again today may work well, even if it failed before. I would like to title this particular short message Getting Connected, Part 2. It is an addendum to the last message that I gave yesterday. The last message was one that will be available to all of you, so you can hear it if you wish. But this message should also make sense all by itself. A new kind of connection. In review, we spoke of your DNA having a multidimensional spin on it. What this means is that it is partly quantum, has quantum attributes that have been proven. We've also told you that because of this, your DNA can generate a small quantum event. We also told you that this new energy being seen on this planet is changing all of humanity, not just old souls. Many are starting to awaken to new kinds of possibilities, and they are using these possibilities to do many things that may seem magical to you since they are so different. We also told you that your Akashic record resides in that vast memory of DNA that was recently seen in science as the storehouse of data and information previously unknown. So formerly labeled junk DNA is now known to contain an amazing amount of information. Your Akash is part of this, as we told you years ago, and is going to start coming forward in ways you didn't expect, and you're not going to believe it. Things will start to occur within individual humans that you will dismiss as not real, because the human that you are, and who you know and love, has only existed so far in 3D limited dimensionality. Even slightly quantum things will not be expected. What does humanity do, especially in the old energy, when they find someone who is fully psychic? Everyone either wants a piece of it or they want to run from it. It's often called magic or evil. The government wants it, even though it is not fully understood. Many simply deny it and don't know what to do with it. What if I told you that this simple example is just a peek at what is going to happen? Are you ready for it? A super psychic person, a person who might even be called a precognitive individual, is one who can pick up on the potentials of reality that exist in the circle of time. However, this person will speak about events as though it had already happened. Potentials carry the same energy as the real thing. Sometimes the precogs are put on some kind of a pedestal or whisked away to a secret kind of room. They might be correct in what they see, or not, depending on what humans do with the potentials. But they are seen as different, and often scary. A psychic can help the police over and over, yet many police will shut the door and roll their eyes and say it's not true. It's not real to them because it's not something they can deal with in 3D. You see what I'm saying? This is about to change. More and more, humans are going to become aware of special things that only they can do. They will have special remembrances and they won't know what to do with them. They may even pick up on potentials around them. A WoW example. I wish to make this simple, for that's when the most understanding occurs. I want to introduce you to WoW. This is really not another parable like the others, but just an example. WoW is anywhere from 4 to 6 years old and he is in the new energy. WoW starts telling his parents who he used to be. He starts to tell them what it was like when he was in the family, but in a different way. He says to his mother, "You're the best mother I've ever had so far." WoW starts to recite things that are odd and strange, as this child remembers so much detail about things he shouldn't be able to know that took place in another time. Let me tell you why WoW is able to remember his Akash. He is a new child in the new energy with an increased DNA efficiency. He represents the beginning of what we have called the consciousness evolution. He has a slightly different DNA because of this. You can't measure it chemically, but you can see it in what he says and does. You may wish to call it a smarter, wiser WoW, but we will say it's different than that. He is vibrating higher, a different consciousness that's allowing WoW to remember things from his Earth past very quickly. He is becoming slightly multidimensional. However, the child has no past history as an adult in his current life, therefore, he has few social restraints. He has no box of belief yet. WoW doesn't know any better, so he blurts out what he sees, feels, and remembers. He is also very attentive to the reaction from his parents. His parents are everything to him. Do they believe him? Are they going to shut him down? Are they going to tell him it's just a dream? Or, are they going to listen? How they react will determine how WoW constructs his next sentence, and the others from then on, about his truth. WoW continues to tell them who he's been, where he's been, and what he's done. There are no restraints to his fresh memory and there are no rules yet of how to behave socially. He hasn't lived a life around other people yet. He doesn't know to be silent or they'll think he's odd or strange or weird. All he has is his parents and he's looking carefully at them now. He can sense how they are taking all this. He is simply stating truth and WoW is awakening in a very new energy, as a child. But as a child, he needs acceptance. Advice for parents who have a WO. So the first thing I want to tell you is that many of you may have a WO either coming or here. What are you going to do with your children or your grandchildren who are starting to do this? I'm speaking to an expectant mother right now, but she's not in this room. Dear one, you're going to get this from your child. You've got a belief system right now that's in a defined box. I know who I'm talking to. I don't want you to be afraid of it. I'm going to give you instructions that are the instructions for everyone, and here they are. When any child starts to talk about what they are remembering from their Akash, listen. No matter what you're doing, stop and listen. If you're late for school, I want you to stop and listen. School can wait. If you're late for work, I want you to stop and listen. The work can wait. The reason I'm telling you this is because these kinds of remembrances will not necessarily stay very long with your woe. You may not hear it again because as the child grows up, the child is going to learn about the box, about what those around him, including his peers, feel is accurate and true. He'll talk about the angel in the room who he speaks to, and it will be real to him. It will remain real until he tells it to a peer who is not ready to hear it. Perhaps it's an older peer who will make fun of him for believing in the tooth fairy and all other fake entities. Then the child will shut up. Peer reaction and parental attitudes are his antennas, and they are all listening for acceptance. If you brush it off or don't accept it, he'll be quiet about it from then on, and eventually it will be forgotten. I want you to stop what you're doing and listen. I want you to portray to the child that you're interested and you believe the stories, and that you're fascinated. Tell the child that you love what is being said. Stop and listen. I want you to broadcast your acceptance about everything your woe is telling you. If there's an opportunity, I want you to ask questions. Tell me more. This information is really great. It's wonderful that you're telling me these things. I love you even more for it. Please tell me more. If the child sees this acceptance, Mom and Dad, I'll tell you something, it won't matter what his peers do, because he'll always have a friend who he can talk to about the angel in the corner, or who he remembers he used to be, or how many times he's been alive. It's going to happen more and more on this planet, and with free choice you new parents have the ability to fast-track what happens next by how you treat a child who starts to remember the bigger picture. This is a human becoming slightly quantum. Will you allow your Akash to bring things forward? Let's leave woe at home with his parents now, and look at another example. Your higher consciousness as an old soul may also see the angel in the corner. Perhaps it will come alive to you, and maybe you actually might be able to communicate, not to a ghost, not to an apparition, but to that which personifies the love of the Creator. This magical friend that you might have had as a child comes alive yet again. So, let me ask you this: will you allow it, or is it too late? Are you now too invested in the box to change? When you start having remembrances and possibilities of who you really are from your Akash, what will you do? Perhaps it will be in vivid dreams that try to show you the magnificence of your purpose on earth. Will you treat it as a dream, as a fantasy, or perhaps as a weird thing? Will you forget it and close the door and not tell a soul about it? Or will you shout it out loud to those who would listen and believe and understand and celebrate it? You see, it may happen. Old soul, you are the one to start having these dreams, these new realities. As your DNA starts to increase in its efficiency and you give permission for a higher consciousness, it may begin. It won't just happen to the children. It can't be only them, since you're the ones with the most experience at the moment. The children will get there eventually, since they're old souls too, but you have the wisdom to understand it now. As these things start to happen to you as an adult, no matter what age you are, old soul, there's a tendency to suppress it. Perhaps you will instead question it and go to somebody who will listen to you and say, "I've had a weird thing happen." Don't you dare say that. It's not weird. It's a normal thing. The only thing weird is a human who has lived with the grand potentials of this for eons and never used it. That's weird. If you're someone who can transmute time, and there's some in here who know exactly what I'm talking about, I want you to claim it. If you're one here or listening who has had what I will call a multidimensional experience, I don't want you to tell somebody it was weird. I want you to stand up and claim that you're moving out of this 3D box and you're starting to realize that you are having experiences that you've earned. The shift is here and the old soul is starting to feel the new tools. Some of you will have strange things happen that are only strange because they are outside of the box of your past belief. Do you have the courage to celebrate a voice in your head called intuition, which you hear for the first time? Or are you going to run to the doctor? It's your choice. That's the addendum that I want to put forward as another way of connecting with God. Being connected isn't simply a realization of spiritual things. It's becoming them. Being connected is being a part of the shift in the new energy of the planet. Gone are the days when you just sit and watch it all. Now, you are helping to create it. That's enough for today, and you've had enough teaching in this room to know what I'm talking about. Speaking of a 2-day seminar, I would love you to leave this place differently than you came. Reader, I want the same for you. Sit for a moment and ponder whether this is real for you or not. What has been said and taught this day goes beyond the box that you have lived in called normal all your lives. What you should know is that beyond the box is the real world. The one you have been living in is the limited world. This awareness alone will allow those in this room and reading to change that need within you to intellectualize all this. Remember this: all you have to intellectualize anything is your old experiences in the box. All that you have to judge anything at this point is only what you have already experienced. Therefore, if it's something brand new and never experienced yet, all you have are the old analysis tools to validate it. All you really have is the trust and the intuition if it is real or not. The black and white person who sees color for the first time has the tendency to question his perception, rather than enjoy the magnificence of a new, colorful world. Many will talk themselves right out of actually seeing the color and remain in black and white. The realization of this very human pitfall will help you to get past the old thinking that may have kept you from believing any of these things. Major changes are here for you now. The next time you meditate, say this: Dear Spirit, I'm in love with the creative source and I'm part of it. I don't understand much of it, but being in love means I don't have to. Dear Spirit, show me what I need to know. Give me the intuition that will guide me to places that I don't expect, and in the process let me have joy in my life. As I walk into what appears to be the dark, let me understand that it is really a new kind of perfect light, one I never saw before now. And so it is.